All right, welcome to the Snowflake Sports Podcast. I am your host, Dan, and we are joined by the resident Browns and Laker fan. You know him well. He's Bench Talk Media's Kyle Ryan. How you doing, Kyle?
Good, Dan. How you doing, man? Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, not too bad. Thanks for coming on. Always a pleasure to have you here. So what we're going to go through, we're going to talk about Sam Darnold trade that happened, I believe, yesterday, maybe 2 days ago. And then we're going to go talk about college basketball. So we're going to talk about the women's college basketball final, talk about the men's college basketball tournament, like the Final Four game with Gonzaga and UCLA, just because it's been absolutely wild. And then talk about the final, talk a little about like Jalen Suggs, David Mitchell, like draft selections, or draft order, like where they'll be, whatnot. And then Nets stack up on buyouts. And we'll talk about Kyle's Lakers as a current 5 seed, even though they've been without LeBron and AD for a while now. And then Paul Pierce gets fired off of ESPN yesterday for that crazy Instagram live video. So lots to unravel. But starting with the Sam Darnold trade. So the Jets received 3 picks, a 6th-rounder in the 2021 draft later this month, and a 2nd-rounder and 4th-rounder in 2022. All right, Kyle. So who's a winner here? Who's the loser here? What do you got here?
I actually just talked about this on Bench Talk. I posted a video about it. So for those of you that want to check it out, I don't know if you ended up seeing it or not, Dan, but I didn't really necessarily talk about winners and losers. I think the Jets won. I think I may have mentioned that. I think the Jets won because it was clear to everyone they were going to take Zach Wilson out of BYU. So, you might as well get what you can for Darnold. You can't have both of them on the roster. Sam Darnold isn't a bridge quarterback. He's still a 23-year-old quarterback on a rookie deal. So I think they won. I think Sam Darnold won for sure. He went from the Jets, who don't have many weapons, and Adam Gase, to, the Panthers, who have DJ Moore, and then also his former teammate in New York, Robbie Anderson. Of course, they got C-Mac, and they have a lot of weapons. And then, of course, they have Joe Brady, who's a head coach here in waiting within a couple of years. And if he turns Sam Darnold around, maybe next year. So I think they won. I think the Panthers won slightly. I certainly think Darnold's better than Bridgewater. I just don't know how much of an upgrade he is. What they win, Dan? 6 games last year?
I believe 5. 5 and 11.
5. Oh, yeah. So 5 and 11. So I think maybe they just got to 6 or 7 wins. I don't have a lot of confidence in Darnold. I know he played for the Jets, and his best receiver there was Robbie Anderson. They let him walk, but I don't know. As much as I don't have confidence in him, I'm not sure he has confidence in himself, if you know what I mean, Dan. Like, after the way he's been playing, and that's a big trait to have in a quarterback, is confidence. So I do think that they got better slightly, and just because he's a little bit better than Bridgewater, and I'm not really sure there's a loser here. Maybe, outside of Teddy Bridgewater, you got to feel for the guy. I mean, everywhere he goes. I mean, this year they only won 5, but everywhere he goes, he plays well, and he went 5-0 for the Saints a couple of years. I know their roster's stacked, but I feel bad for the guy. He just, I feel bad. He's just Captain Checkdown, Dan. I mean, he just does not throw. I'm my second favorite. I know people don't have second favorite teams, but outside of the Browns, I root for the Panthers. I have some family that lives there, and so long story short is I watch the Panthers when I'm not watching the Browns, and I in 16 games, I think Bridgewater threw the deep ball maybe like 10 times. He does not throw deep, and so, but I think that he will end up going to maybe Denver. Drew Lock isn't any good, so maybe he can go there. Or I know Washington got Fitzpatrick, but that defense is good enough for them to have a quarterback that just doesn't turn it over, and that's one thing Teddy doesn't do. And as good as Fitzpatrick can be, he can also be Fitztragic and throw a ton of picks. So maybe Bridgewater goes there. He'll find his way on a team, but I don't. Other than him, I'm not really sure there's a loser here. I think everyone involved is a winner.
Gotcha. I like everyone's a winner. 2021. Here we go, baby. So the only thing, what I don't get, and I don't really follow college football, and like I haven't really got. I need to like watch the videos on like actual footage on like Zach Wilson and all these like quarterbacks. So I always thought it was Trevor Lawrence and it was Fields. I forget his first name.
Yeah, here's the thing. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm with you. Like Zach Wilson, like they talk about tape all the time and stuff. And his tape looks like Rodgers and Mahomes. It does. But I don't think I don't know. Obviously, I'm not a scout, but I personally agree with you. I think it's Lawrence and then Fields. I don't think that Wilson's going to be as great as everyone thinks. First of all, he wasn't even a guaranteed starter this year. He had to fight for a spot.
Okay.
Second of all, the only 2 games that he played good competition this year, he didn't play very well. And so, you know what I mean? I mean, he didn't play with very much talent around him. There's not much guys that go to BYU. But, yeah, I'm with you. I know that – sorry, you were going somewhere with that.
No, I mean, I like the insight.
I don't necessarily think he's that great, but he shows on tape that he looks great.
Yeah, I mean, I like the insight because I didn't even know that he had to fight for his position at BYU. Like, are you joking? So I don't know what the Jets are really doing here because like I think they need help on the offensive line. They've let up like a decent amount of sacks. They were 24th in QB sacks per game last year. So like I feel like they need to do what like the Cowboys did and start drafting old linemen. And I believe they did that last year when they got Mecton, and you just got to keep kind of doing that because like they have no run game. They have like no wide receivers. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna draft Wilson or you're gonna draft Fields or one of these quarterbacks, and you're gonna be stuck in the exact same situation that you were with Sam Darnold, whereas this is high profile, like a lot of potential in succeeding, and then he's just gonna get like sacked all the time, and like maybe that works out. Like look what Cincinnati did with Joe Burrow, but then like Joe Burrow gets hurt, and then like the Bengals just kind of fall apart, even though they weren't really winning with Joe Burrow in the first place. So I just like I feel like they just keep jetting themselves for this, and I don't understand. Like it's like, oh, you have to move on. Like he's your second overall pick. You've had him for 2 years, and like he's been hurt. Wait, it is 2 or is it 3? I forget.
He's been in the league 3 years.
3 years. Sorry, thank you. So like he's been in 3 years, and like you just need to like be building up for something. And it's like you're just gonna go get another rookie and start this all over. I think.
Well, there's a first of all, they have a new GM. Well, newer. This is the second year. He didn't draft Sam Darnold. You know as well as I do. These guys like to come and get their own guy. First of all, second of all, what is the biggest thing in the NFL or the biggest trend right now is quarterbacks on rookie deals. You don't have to pay your quarterback. You get to pay the rest of your team, and then you get to, you know what I mean? Like you get to build the roster around him. So now they get to restart all over again the contract. Because if you think about it, Dan, this year will be Sam Darnold's 4th year. At the time, the Jets didn't pick up his 5th-year option. So if he falls out this year, they would have had to pay him $32 million. That's the going rate for quarterbacks like him nowadays. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So now they get to restart that contract over again and then build up all these other guys or the roster around them. You know what I mean? I mean, if you think about it, it worked for the Rams. They made the Super Bowl. Now they didn't win, but they made it. It worked for the Eagles. Carson Wentz wasn't paid yet. I know he got hurt, but my perfect example, they got it back when they paid him and Nick Foles. And so it seems to be working for these guys. Mahomes got a rookie deal this year again, still in his rookie deal. So it's the trend that the NFL is going. So I think that's why he did it, Dan. I 100% agree with it. I don't think Sam Darnold's any good. So I would have traded him as well, but I just don't know if Zach Wilson's the guy. But I think that's why they did it.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. It's one of those things where it's like, as like an NBA team, I know a lot of people are shooting threes, but like that doesn't mean you need to start shooting threes because you don't have good three-point shooters.
Right.
So it's like, okay, so I just pulled off the track the Jets cap. Carlson is their high player at 14. The other player is Javis Crowder.
They just paid him this year,
Yeah,
too.
so like they're not maybe next year, but they don't really have a lot of talent that they need to pay. And like, who's signing with this team? Like, I don't think I would want to go there. You know, it's like I feel like they should have kind of paid him, or maybe tried to like you decline the option, see what he does next year.
Dan, it's a big market. I know Jets stink, but when agencies want to get the USC's off, that's pretty enticing.
Oh yeah, very true. But like, why do they not sign better players? Like, why did Giants not sign better players? Like, it's like you think people would want to move to New York, but it seems like it never happens. It's always like Los Angeles, I think, with the big market. And
it's just, I don't know what, it's just bad. Honestly, it all starts with the owner. The Browns are the same way. I mean, this year the owner, look what happened. The owner decided to, not stick his nose in everyone's business. The Browns real good. The Jets owner is too hands-on. All these owners are too hands-on, and the ones that aren't are the teams that are good. I mean, look at Robert Kraft lets Belichick run the entire team, and they've been good for 20-something years now.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the Pagulas, as soon as McDermott got there, they let McDermott and Bean run the show. Now look at them. So it's just, it starts at the top. That's what it is. Woody Johnson, excuse my language, he's a jackass. He doesn't know what he's doing, and he thinks that he does.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. And then flip side on the Panthers, I thought this was a great win for them. I don't really know what you do with Teddy Bridgewater because I'm pretty sure he signed a 3-year deal and he used 1 year.
Yep, 21 mil a year.
Yeah, so like I don't know who trades for that. Because that's a lot of money. I mean, if someone doesn't need a quarterback, like you said with Denver, like maybe you pick that up and you got a ton of young talent.
He's better than Drew Lock.
Oh, absolutely.
Drew Lock,
I completely agree.
I think he's the worst starting quarterback in the league.
I agree. I just think Drew Lock is fun, and I just want him to.
Oh
be
no,
relevant.
agreed.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, he's definitely fun for sure.
Yeah, and then like you said, he reunites with Robbie Anderson. There's DJ Moore's there. Like Curtis Samuel had a breakout year pretty much last year.
He's gone now though.
Oh, is he really? Oh, damn.
Yeah, he went to Washington. He signed with Washington, but still, DJ Moore. I know nobody talks about him. That kid is a stud. And then Robbie Anderson, everywhere he goes, he just catches bombs all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. So hopefully, if Sam Darnold, I feel like the whole Renaissance thing, he's going to Carolina, right? Like they're playing in Charlotte. It's not as big as a market. Maybe he can find himself. Maybe it's like a little Markel Fultz situation, even though he's not really.
I mean, and if he turns out, I mean, Brady's not going to stick around that much longer. The Breeze is now gone, and Ryan could be gone soon. I mean, if he's any good, they could, you know what I mean? They could own the division in a couple years.
I don't know. I think the Bucs are still going to be relevant though without.
Oh, so do I.
Like
I
Brady.
mean, their roster's stacked even without Brady.
Yeah.
But I mean, look what happened when they had Jameis. So
that's true.
It just depends on who you get. But
I mean, that also
they do have a stacked roster.
That happens when you throw 30 picks. Like I don't care how many touchdowns you throw. Like if you're throwing 30 interceptions in a year, like you're not going to win games. But yeah, I don't know.
Speaking of the Bucs, I know it's really early, and I know that we haven't had the draft yet. But can I throw an early Super Bowl prediction out to you?
Go for it.
I think that the Bucs are going to make it, and people are going to call me biased, but I think that the Browns are going to make it. I think that this is the year simply for the fact that they did, in my opinion, really good in free agency. John Johnson, Troy Hill. They beefed up the defense, and Baker's still on the rookie contract, so we were paying everyone else. And so now's the year, because if Baker plays well again, they're going to have to pay him, and then there goes money towards everyone else. So, in my opinion, I'm not saying they're going to win. I just think they're going to go. And the reason I say that is because if they don't go now, they're not going to go anytime soon because they're going to have to pay Baker, and then there goes that. So that's an early Super Bowl prediction. And if it's not the Browns, you know I don't love them, but I do think that the Bills would make it. So I think it's going to be one of those teams versus the Bucs.
Okay.
It's early. There still hasn't been a draft. People can get hurt. I know, but just for fun, I figured I'd throw it out there while we were talking about the Bucs.
Yeah, why not? I mean, I think they really did shore up on defense. And they were like a touchdown away from beating the Chiefs last year.
And I never blame the refs, but that was a helmet to helmet on Rashard Higgins when he fumbled in the end zone.
Oh, yeah.
So if you would have scored there at halftime, the momentum was back to us, and we got the ball at half. You know, I'm not saying we would have won. I'm not saying that, but I mean, we only lost 20. It was, I forgot what the score was. 23-16, I think it was. Yeah. So there you go.
But like you got to remember, I think Mahomes got hurt, right?
Mahomes got hurt.
Yeah. So like you got to factor that in. I mean, I like it. I think the Browns are definitely on the upside. Like the Bills pretty much stayed relevant because they didn't really lose anyone. They upgraded Emmanuel Sanders to a wide receiver. Lost John Brown.
Why they don't really need him though?
Yeah, but they lost Brown, right? So
Diggs and Beasley and Gabriel Davis, the rookie last year, he played really well towards the end of the year. I'm surprised they paid Sanders. It was only 1 year though, I think. Right?
Yeah, I believe so. I don't know. I think it pretty much solidifies that offense into pretty much the same way because Sanders is super fast.
Yeah,
he's like
and
he can play in the
leadership,
slot, a little like outside. So like you pretty much keep what you had last year and just try to run that back.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. I mean he's a good player. Don't get me wrong. I don't think it was a bad signing. I was just a little confused by it.
Yeah, I mean I think they just kind of struck out on J.J. Watt and was just like, all right, what do we do now? Let's go get a wide receiver. You know.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to the women's college basketball final. So Stanford defeated Arizona in a thrilling NCAA final game where we had an incredible, almost buzzer beater by Ariana McDonald. She had like this weird like hook shot like on the top of the key. Pretty bad offensive play in my opinion. But what were your reactions to this game?
So, first of all, kudos to Arizona, because I think people like me who don't necessarily always watch, but they pay, they pay a little bit of attention to women's basketball. You just automatically assume Connecticut's going to be in the title
Yeah.
game. So kudos to Arizona for pulling that upset. That was cool. And then I thought it was a great game. I did watch it, and I thought towards the end that hook shot, I'm with you. It was bad offense, but I mean, that was close, and that would have been awesome to see.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I know women's is different than men's, but everyone always, craps on the Pac-12 and says they're not very good. But Pac-12 showed out in the men's. I know we'll get into that a little bit. And then the Pac-12, had both the champion and the runner-up in the women's. So I thought it was pretty impressive. I thought it was a great game, and it was good for Stanford too, because I know they've been good for a while, but of course, they had to run into the buzzsaw that is Connecticut. It seemed like every year. So
yeah. And then shout out South Carolina too, because they've been really good the past 4 years or so, and just lost to the eventual champions. It was just really interesting to see their play styles, because Stanford, they had those two huge women like Cameron Brink and Ashton Preschel. And then Arizona, on the flip side, had the smaller, quicker guards in Ari McDonald and Shania Pellington. I'm honestly I don't follow women's college basketball that much, but I did watch this game and just enjoyed it a lot. Really, honestly, the weird stuff they do at the elbow, or it just seems like the athleticism is better than it was before. Maybe I just was never noticing.
Definitely.
And it's just fun to watch, and it's different too, because when you watch so much NBA, they're just jacking threes sometimes, and it gets a little annoying. But they're running different sets, you could see it. But anyways,
they're running plays.
Yeah,
exactly. That's what they're doing. They're not just running around the 3-point line. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So Stanford though owned the rebounds on this game. They had 47 to 29, which is obvious because you're watching these games, these two women who are 6'4", 6'5", just reaching over kind of a small Arizona team. And then on the flip side, Arizona had 12 steals compared to the one from Stanford. So you got all these quick guards. They had, I don't even know how many fast break points, but it just seemed every time Stanford was pulling away and they're, oh, okay, Stanford's gonna end up winning this game. They get 2 turnovers real quick, and it's just Arizona's right back. And it felt like that happened 3 or 4 times this game.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's just I don't know, great game though. That if that shot hit, with that and the Jalen Suggs one that we're gonna hit up in a couple minutes, that would have been just a crazy tournament, just overall, the entire landscape of the whole thing.
That would have been a great weekend, huh?
Yeah, but I don't know. I thought the overall too, the women's college basketball, I feel is popular now. A ton of people are tuning in. A ton of people talking about Paige Buchers, for UConn. Maybe it's just my area, just living in Connecticut, but it's just it seems it's gotten, it's there, and it's turning wheels, so it's just good to see. All right, moving on to,
I know KD vouches for it a lot.
Oh,
KD
yeah,
loves it.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the men's college basketball I guess tournament, because so St. Bonaventure, you haven't been on this whole time. They had a great season, so give me your little shout out for the Bonnies.
So as a Bonaventure alum, you know that. I don't know if your listeners know that or not, but it was an awesome season. It was one of the better seasons I've ever watched. Now, I'll be honest, Dan, before I went to Bonas, paid no attention to them. I heard about them, obviously, living in New York, but ever since I started going there in 2010, I've been diehard, watch every single game. And so this was one of the better seasons that I remember. I will say that it was disappointing that they made, it's awesome that they made it. Okay, first of all, as a mid-major, for us to make the tournament and get a 9 seed, Dan, that's like us getting a 1 seed. It was remarkable. I can't remember the first time I've ever paid attention to them that they've been that high. And I think back in 2000, 2001, they may have been a little higher, but it's been a long time. So that was great to see, but it was unfortunate that we got pretty much, it was at some points throughout the game, it was close. But if you watch the game like I did, it wasn't close. They ran into LSU, who, in my opinion, was the best 8 seed. And so it stunk that they had to face them. But it was a great season. And the best part is, Dan, every single one of our starting 5 was a junior. So they'll all be back next year. And I know it's way too early, but I was looking at way too early top 25 nominations. Bonaventure was 16th.
Whoa.
That's the highest. that they've been that I can remember in a very, very long time. So all 5 starters are coming back, and we don't play any of our bench guys. We play 2 guys off the bench this year, and they combined for about like 13 minutes, I think. So, and they both transferred. So, but we got some guys that transferred in that'll come play, and they seem to be, at least from highlights I've watched, they seem to be a little bit better suited for our team. So hopefully they play a little bit more. But shout out to Bonas, great season. Next year hopefully will be even better. I know it's hard to repeat this year. First time we've ever outright won the Atlantic 10 championship, which was nice. And then we also won the A10 tourney, which was great. So first time that's ever happened. So that it was a great season, and hopefully next year we'll be back and better than ever.
Yeah, I mean, so like being a 9 seed, they basically, like, if they didn't win the Atlantic 10 tournament, they would definitely still been in, which is just
yes. My guess, this is just me guessing. Obviously, I'm not a bracketology guy, but VCU was a 10 seed,
right.
And they didn't play against Oregon because they had the COVID breakout, but they had a very similar record than us. Our record was slightly better than theirs, but they played better opponents, so I count the records as even. So I actually think we probably would have just swapped with them, and we would have been playing Oregon as a 10 seed, which would have been worse because Oregon, as you saw against Iowa in round 2, they're just great. All 5 of their guys are just some of the most athletic people I've ever seen. So that probably wouldn't have turned out as well either. But so that's just my guess. But yes, they would have made it either way. They were, they finished, I think it was 14-5. So, and they played a better schedule than they normally do. They won the A10 outright, and every opponent that they played that was good, they beat them. They only lost 1 game against a bad opponent or a good opponent, and it was really close against VCU. So. But yes, they would have made it either way.
Yeah, but I mean that like never happens, right? They're always like they have to win the tournament to get in.
Yep, to get in.
And so 16th, right? Even if it's super early, when was the last time they were ranked? Do you remember, or is it more recent?
They were ranked. So they were ranked for 1 week a couple years ago when they had Jalen Adams. It was literally like 1 week, and they had 1 game that week, and then they lost. So, and they may not even have been ranked, but they were like 26th, 27th, and they got a vote, which in Bona's territory, that counts as being ranked.
Yeah.
So it was that, yeah. But other than that, it's been a very long time. And yeah, 16th is enormous.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, kudos to them. Hope they do well in Atlantic 10. And all right, moving on to Gonzaga UCLA. So people were like wilding out about how this game was like the greatest game on college basketball history. So I already know your thoughts, but like, give me what you thought about this game, like where this ranks among other games, if you have any other comps to this game.
Okay, so in my history, I think I might be because it happened just like a couple days ago. It might be spur of the moment. I think it's the greatest game I've ever seen. But now there is other ones, of course, Dan. The Villanova game. Villanova, North Carolina championship game where Chris Jenkins hit that buzzer beater to win the game. That, of course, is up there, and that was in the national championship, so it means a little bit more. I remember the Butler, I can't remember who they were playing, where Gordon Hayward almost hit that half-court buzzer beater. It, like, rimmed out.
Yeah.
That comes to mind as well. But I do, Dan. I know it sounds like you may not agree, but I think it was one of the greatest games I've ever seen. It had everything. Just run after run after run, a freaking almost half-court buzzer beater to win the game in overtime. Now, it does put a little bit of a damper on it that they couldn't capitalize last night, but I don't know. Because we weren't old enough for Christian Laettner. That was you see that every March Madness, and you see it probably 10, 15 times, during their preview or their commercials or whatnot. So that's probably the greatest game ever. But in my lifetime, this might be number 1. And if it's not number 1, it's certainly top 3.
Yeah. I don't. I just think it's all like recency bias. This game was incredible though. Like Jalen Suggs just showing up and like he was like blocking shots and then like throwing this like crazy pass to like Timmy to like for the dunk. He was just
number
like
2
everywhere.
pick in the draft, Dan.
Yeah.
Most likely. I know we'll get to that. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. But like I just think it is recency bias, and you already hit it. Like that Villanova North Carolina game was insane. Like Marcus Page, he hits this like dumb 3 that's like he's completely covered, ties the game, And then like Villanova, the thing is like Villanova had to call a timeout, and then they bring up the ball, they shoot the shot. Everyone knows what that shot was. Like that's for like the championship too.
Right.
And like I just think like
That's why it might be 2 this one.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying if it's not 1, it's top 3 because that one comes to mind.
Right. I mean, yeah, I guess this just like to me, this game reminds me of that. I don't know if you remember the North Carolina Kentucky game, 2017 with like Luke May, like De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk.
Yeah.
It's like the same thing where it's like Malik Monk hits this dumb double teamed three, and like North Carolina actually, I'm pretty sure calls the timeout. Maybe they do. No, they don't. They like run the ball down, and like somehow find Luke May on like a very long 2. And he drains it, and there's like a little time left, but I think they like ruin it or something. It's just like that reminded me more of what happened with Gonzaga, just the way it like turned out. Where I forget, was it that who was the UCLA guy that like he tied the game?
Johnny Giselle.
Johnny, yeah, thank you. And like
he's a killer, by the way.
Yeah, no, he had a great game. He gets a shot. There's 3 seconds left. They take the ball out. Everyone's seen it, and so like the defense though. Because I was talking to my dad about this, and he thought the defense was kind of weak on that shot. I thought it was kind of fine. The only problem was like they just let him walk in there.
Yes, but they didn't pressure him.
Yeah, there was just like a person there. Like the worst thing you do is foul him, and he just has 3 shots to, win the game. So what'd you think? Did you think the defense was kind of soft on that, or?
No, agreed, because they needed to pressure him, and you could tell. I don't know if you paid any attention to it, but when I watch basketball, I watch everything, and so my first reaction was as soon as they scored, I looked at Mick Cronin, and Mick Cronin, the coach for UCLA, and he's screaming at his guys, run up, pressure him, and they're all just running backwards, and like you said, they're kind of lackadaisical about it. I would have, like you said, I would have pressured him. I would not foul them because I would much rather take my chances at almost half-court buzzer beater than 3 uncontested free throws. But I would have at least come closer than that. I agree. They should have pressured him. And that's the one thing the Zags want to do is run. And that's what they got to do is they got to run and get ahead of everyone. And they had numbers. And so I did not agree with the defense. I absolutely agree with you there.
Yeah, I agree. All right, moving on to the game last night. So Baylor defeated Gonzaga just after a flurry of threes from the start. And their offense, they just couldn't stop them. They tried to do zone. They tried to do like these other different things, and they got the sweet spot in the zone. They could hit any 3 they wanted to. So what were your thoughts?
The zone worked for a little bit, but not much.
Yeah. So what do you think about this game?
I'll be honest. I went to bed at halftime. It was over.
You didn't miss much.
At halftime. I shouldn't say that, but I went to bed with like 2 minutes left, or 2 minutes in the second half. Like just started second half. The fact that Gonzaga was only down 10 at halftime was absolutely incredible, but it was over from the start. Like you said, Dan, the flurry of threes, they just came out and bullied them. They got offensive rebound after offensive rebound. At halftime, I think I remember the stat correctly, they had 12 offensive rebounds. Gonzaga had 13 total rebounds.
Oh, wow.
They were just out rebounding them, out muscling them, beating them down low. It wasn't even fair. And the funny thing is Baylor's not that big of a team. I mean, their starting 5 is, I think he's like 6'9", you know what I mean? Timmy, I think, is 6'10", 6'11", so they're not very big, and they were just manhandling them. And then, like you said, the threes and the mismatches. Davion Mitchell was breaking everyone's ankles. Jared Butler was just draining long 3 after long 3. It was over by halftime. I know that Gonzaga had a little, streak at the end, and like I just said, it was incredible. They were only down 10, but it was still over at halftime, in my opinion. It was a beating.
Yeah, I mean, I forget
too.
I forget
because I don't remember this, but apparently I was reading up on it. Apparently they had some player on their team like pleaded guilty to killing a teammate and also his mother or something like that.
What?
So they were going through very hard times, and then they hired Scott Drew, and he built that program up to where they are now. So remarkable that happened. Just unbelievable.
Oh, wow. I totally forgot about that. Probably didn't even know about that.
I just heard about that on Dan Patrick today, and I read about it last night before the game or something I think it was, they murdered a teammate and a mom or a teammate's mom or something like that.
Oh, jeez. I mean, kudos to them because it's not even like – so Jared Butler is technically like the prospect coming out of this team. Though I just really like David Mitchell. I just think he's just – Maybe it's just like the Kyrie effect where it's just like he's breaking people's ankles, he's doing these step backs. It's just like the raw like little cut, of a highlight looks great. But like it's not even just them two. Like Makisio Teague was like out there balling. Like it seemed like everyone on that team could create their own shot if they wanted to. And that just was like
and if they don't, the big fellas down low get the offensive board.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, if they get 12 offensive boards in a half, like you can't stop that. I don't know if they're small, right? How do you what are you doing? And like there were some really easy looks that they had too. Like Gonzaga's defense was just not really up to par. Maybe they were just like too high in the euphoria of their win against UCLA.
I think that's what it was. They looked tired and flat. They just looked, you know what I mean? They celebrated like that was their championship.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just weird with college basketball always seems weird because it's like I feel like you get to the Final Four and it's like that's your championship. And then this weekend's just like like who wins? Maybe it does. It's just like such a great feat to even get there. But like Gonzaga is just one of those schools that like I think they've been to the title game twice now, haven't won yet. And they're like this is like a consistent. They're like a 1 seed. I don't know, 3 of the last 5 years, something like around that range. So it's just like this team is like always relevant and always there, just can't get over the hump. But like kudos to Baylor, kudos to overcoming all that stuff about killing someone's like teammates and all that other thing.
It was a long time ago, but
yeah.
It's hard to come back from that. And I don't know about you, but before they started being good the last couple of years, when I think of Baylor, I think of football.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? And that was the other cool thing about the tournament, Dan. Again, I don't mean to interrupt you, but as much as I like Duke outside of Bonas, I root for Duke. I know people hate that, but Duke wasn't in it. Kentucky wasn't in it. Indiana wasn't in it. And teams like Alabama was in it, and teams like we just mentioned Baylor, like teams who I think when I think of them, I think of football.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was cool to see them in the tournament and them make it far and then play well. That was really, really cool to me. And this tournament this year was awesome. Every seed except the 16 seed won at least one game. It was unbelievable. It was great.
I got Oral Roberts almost made the Elite Eight as a 15 seed. Like, are you kidding?
That Max Asmith, he is a baller. Yeah. I tell you, man, he can really play. I'm not saying he's Steph Curry. I'm not saying that. But I can't remember a mid-major guy having such a big coming out party in the tournament since Steph Curry, since this Max Asmith dude. I really can't.
I mean, like, I would put Ja Morant there, but, like, people were hyping about Ja Morant before the tournament.
Right, and they only played in what? One game? They
played 2. They won one game.
The first game, did they?
They won one game. They upset someone, I forget.
I think they beat West Virginia, I think it was, right? Something like that.
Yeah, that sounds right. But, like, I don't know. It wasn't even that coming out of a party for Ja Morant. Like, everyone knew Ja Morant was that good.
Exactly, right. And that's what I mean. No one heard about this guy. And, I don't know if this guy will make it to the league. He's small. I'm not saying he's Steph Curry. I'm just, when it comes to guys mid-major breakouts, I can't remember a guy that broke out this much since Steph Curry.
Oh, yeah. No, I completely agree with that.
There's a few guys here or there, like, during a game. Like, I know those Eastern Kentucky, those brothers that balled out but they ended up losing in the first round. So, they didn't really make much of a, splash, but they balled out too. It was just a great tournament.
Oh, for sure. It was so weird because it seemed like anyone could beat anyone except for Gonzaga and Baylor. Like there was upsets all up and down, a 15 seed, like Purdue, I think lost to a 14 seed. I think North Texas or something. I forget.
Yep. North Texas. And that's what's great. Everything, like you just mentioned, everything was so out of the ordinary this year with COVID and not many. I don't know about you, but I know a lot of people that I know that love college basketball that didn't pay, weren't paying as much attention this year because you don't know when games are on, when they're not. And then, like you said, all these upsets, and then we ended up with the 2 best teams all along playing in the championship.
Yeah, no, I mean that's the madness though. Like that's what you want. You want these like higher seeds beating these 1 seeds, like these crazy shots that are going in, these buzzer beaters. Like it's just incredible. All right, moving on to we're just talking a little bit about the NBA prospects that we saw at this game. So Jalen Suggs, we can throw what's his name, Jared Butler in there too, and Davion Mitchell. So where you got them here? Are you higher on other people's because of this tournament or not? Like where are you at with these guys?
So Suggs, I love Suggs. I think he would, if it wasn't for Cade Cunningham, the guard out of Oklahoma State, I think Suggs would go number 1. He just does everything. He's not like the best shooter, but he can shoot the ball. I mean, he almost had a triple-double in the Final Four game against UCLA. He does it all, and you watched it, Dan. Some of those passes, the half-court bounce passes that he has, or he blocked that shot against UCLA. I think he's, 6'4", 6'5". He's not that big, blocking that shot. I think he's going to be a stud. Jared Butler's a little bit smaller, and he could shoot. And in today's league, that is all you really need to be able to do is shoot the ball. And if he can shoot, you'll be in the league. So I think he'll be a pretty good pro. He's just a little bit smaller. He played 2 guard in college. He'll probably be more of a 1 in the NBA. And Davion Mitchell, I'm with you. I'm reading these mock drafts, and I don't see him going super high. Like, some have him in lower lottery and then right just outside. But I'm with you. When I watch him play, I see Kyrie, the way he's breaking people's ankles, the way he's shooting these long threes, the way he's passionate about it, and he's a baller, and I love watching him play. I don't know if he'll be any good. He's on the smaller side too, but he looks like he'll be good, and he looks like he's going to be a great player. He might never be a star, but he looks like he'll be a good role player. Out of those 3, I think the star will be Jalen Suggs. And by star, I mean, a perennial all-star. I don't mean MVPs or anything like that. He's got a long way to go for that. But I think he'll be second pick, maybe third. I know Evan Mobley from USC is a stretch 5, so he might get some looks at number 2. But I think he'll definitely be a top 3 pick for sure.
Yeah. I slightly disagree. So obviously Cade Cunningham, because he could shoot 40% from 3 or whatever that ridiculous stat is. There's no way you can't.
He's 6'8" as a point guard.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's he's basically an NBA robot. It's oh, okay, let's have this tall, lanky guy be able to shoot threes. Modern NBA, let's go. So he's 1. Mowgli should be 2, and then Jalen Green on the G Ignite team or the G League Ignite team, I think will sneak in a little ahead just because it's he was so hyped in high school, and when he did that thing where he was not committed, I forget what school he was even committed to.
Wait, where did he go? Was he the one that UCLA? Because I know UCLA had a guy that opted to the G League. Was it him or was it that Kuminga dude?
I don't remember. I don't know if he even committed. I think he's LA based or SoCal based, so probably.
So that would make sense then.
Yeah. No, I could totally see that. But it's I'm pretty sure the G League has not happened. I should know this honestly, but people forget about him. And I think he'll sneak in there because people will remember the Suggs thing, and maybe he'll drop. I could see it being third and just people forgetting about Jalen Green, but I just don't think. Mowgli, I think it's just too versatile as a player, and it's just
he is. He's very good, stretch 5.
Yeah, it's
he's great.
The size, I feel you can't really deny that, but he's a minimum 4. I think that's the lowest floor you could have him there.
Yeah. Yep.
And he solidified that with all these crazy stuff. And I don't know, Davion Mitchell. I just want to see more of him. I think he should be a lottery pick, and I don't get I've seen these. I don't know, someone on ESPN. He was 27th or something. It's how are you not jumping up? Did you not watch this game? He was breaking all these ankles.
Yeah, man, it's the NBA for you. They're all about potential. I mean, look at every year for the last 10 years. It seems like every top 5 pick is 18, 19-year-old freshman.
Right.
And so you know what I mean. That's how the NBA is nowadays. I'm with you. He should be way higher than that.
Right. And he's 22, right? That's the whole thing. It's
right. Anyway. He's 22, and they're not sure he's going to get any better, and he's a little bit on the smaller side. But my theory is if he's already good enough to not have to have the chance of not getting better, who cares? He's already really good. I don't really, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And it's just you're on a rookie contract. It's not that expensive, and you got the restricted thing. You don't have to really pay him max money. And I don't think he's ever going to be a max player. He's more of a rotation. Maybe he'll start, maybe he'll come off the bench, one of those Deshaun Livingston kind of players. So it's just.
Well, I tell you what, if the Raptors get a hold of him, they could do something with him. I mean, I tell you, they find these guards from everywhere and they make them good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look at.
I heard of Fred VanVleet, but I never even heard of Norman Powell ever. Now he gets, he's good. I mean, I know he got traded, but he's great. Oganobi was decent in college. Now he's, almost max player, great 3-and-D guy. I don't know what they do out there in Toronto, but they have great, having people reach their potential. I don't know exactly what the word I'm trying to think of is, but
like, so the thing is that like, player development in Toronto
There you
is
go.
absurd.
Yes.
Like, it's just insane.
Yes.
And
So good.
what's kind of crazy is they kind of do like what European soccer does, where it's like, okay, we have these young players, they're not going to play in the NBA, so we're going to put them in the G League. They're going to get a ton of reps, they're going to get a ton of games, and then like we'll bring them up if they're like prove themselves. That's worked with Fred VanVleet. That's worked with Siakam. That's worked with like Boucher. He was a G League MVP and Defensive Player of the Year. Look how good he is now. So it's
Yeah,
just like
he's good. I like him a lot.
why I don't understand how other teams haven't really caught on to that. Like it seems like they haven't really done this where they put their like later, maybe even like first. Well, I wouldn't say first round picks, but like second round picks into the G League, build them up. But the thing that's so frustrating about Toronto is like they don't have like talent because it's like yeah, it's cool to look at like yeah, we have 7 undrafted players on our team, and it's just like okay, why don't we have more actual drafted players? Like where's the actual talent on this team? And it's like Yuta is great. I know you know him because he was George Washington. He was laying 10.
Yep.
And his story is just like incredible, coming from Japan and just like not knowing the language, all that stuff. But it's like
I love it.
yeah, he's great. It's just, I want someone better. I don't know. It's hard because it's like you lose Gasol.
They have a bunch of guys, like you said. It's more like a bunch of role players with great stories than actual stars.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like great to read, and like great like story and everything. But I just want a little more, just sad. All right, moving on to the Nets because I'll talk Raptors all day if we do that. So they stack up on the buyouts. So they get Blake Griffin was like a while ago, but I haven't talked about that on here. And then they get LaMarcus Aldridge on a very cheap deal. Internet kind of blew up. Thought it was like, oh, the Nets are like the Death Star. Like this team is way too jacked. They have all these All Stars. Blah blah blah. So what do you think about all this buyout stuff?
Okay, so me personally, I mean, as a Lakers fan, I know the Lakers go on the buyout market too. I just hate it because the buyout market is just, you might as well just call it the great teams get better market because anytime anyone goes on the buyout market, they just go to a great team. I get it. They get that's their choice to do that. But I think that, I don't know if I'm saying this as a Lakers fan. I think that the Nets are like, yeah, they got a bunch of great players, but not a single player can play defense. They're like the 25th ranked defense in the NBA. In no defense in the last, you could look this up. It might be 15, 20 years. No defense under like top 15th ever won a championship. So I don't know what's this. Like you get all these players, you must win a championship. I don't think they're going to win a championship. Do you think they're going to win a championship?
I don't know if they'll win. I just think they're off.
They can outscore anyone, but they got to be able to stop someone at some point.
Yeah, I mean the Bucks, I feel like are going to be their trouble in the Eastern Conference at least because they just have the players that can guard the three. Like when you got Drew Holiday could guard Kyrie or Harden, you got Giannis to guard Durant, and then like Middleton can do the other guard. Middleton. Really, you could throw a lot at them, and then the Sixers, right? The Sixers defense has been absolutely incredible. So I could see either of those teams. I just think if you have those three on the floor, and like James Harden, right, post this trade to Brooklyn has been pretty much the best player in the NBA, right? Like how he has gotten into the MVP conversation with how disgruntled he was in Houston is just incredible.
That's why I don't think he can be MVP. It irritates me. I know that right now, the way he's playing, he's the MVP of the league. But things went so bad in Houston, and he made such a fool of himself. And MVP, I don't think there's ever been an MVP that's been on 2 teams in 1 year. So I think that hurts him too.
Yeah.
I don't know. It irritates me, but I mean, he's definitely in the conversation, but that's the other thing that irritates me. There's like 8 guys in the conversation. The season's not even over yet. You know what I mean? Like we're talking MVP 7 games into the year, and it you know what I mean? Yeah. So I get it though. He's playing great, and you're right. Those 3 on the floor, how can you stop him?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of really like this MVP race honestly this year because it's like, oh, it's Jokic, oh, it's LeBron, oh, it's Harden. I don't think Harden's gonna win. Like that, there's no way that story kind of unfolds. But their offense is so good, and I think they've been playing better defense. So I know they're 25th ranked, but I think on the low post they gave out some stat where it's like they're 19th in the last like month or something. And if they're like 19th, if they're like a little below average, they absolutely can win the finals. And they could take it to anyone.
Yes.
Like they're gonna have to, or they could easily score 120 on any team at any time. I don't care if you're the Sixers. I don't care if you're like the Lakers with LeBron and AD. Or the Clippers or anything. Any of these teams, like the Jazz, whatever. Like they can score whatever they want to. And you can't.
No, you're absolutely right about that.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right about that. But they can't stop anyone.
Yeah, but the whole thing about the buyouts, right? And like, I completely agree that the big market teams are the only ones that get this, or like the better teams. But it never, like, sways the needle, right? Like, okay, yeah, you got Blake Griffin. Like, people were hating on Blake Griffin when he was like in Detroit. It's like, oh, well, I guess not like hating in particular, but like, oh, he's not the same Blake Griffin anymore. He can't dunk. Like, oh, he can like shoot threes. That's cool, but not like at a higher clip. So like, okay, now he joins the Nets and he's all of a sudden is like Lob City Blake Griffin.
Was he even? I think he was averaging. I don't even think he was averaging 12 points a game. I think he was single digits in Detroit. I'm with you. He's
So he doesn't do anything, right? And like,
no,
Aldridge got beat out by Jakob Poeltl. Like that's basically what happened in San Antonio. Was like Jakob Poeltl is a better like power forward center than LaMarcus Aldridge, so that's why he got disgruntled and then was just
he did airball those two free throws, though. That was pretty embarrassing.
Yeah, that's true. But like, why are these? You're just looking at it and it's like, oh, they're like 3 All-Stars or like all these All-Pros that Griffin has. It's like they are not the same players. It's just a name right now.
Yep.
And like,
agreed.
Right. So like, going to the Lakers, they get Andre Drummond. I think that's a way more like people should be mad about that more than I think the other stuff, because he could really sway. Like he could be like one of those lob guys, like basically like the Dwight Howard of last year, just get a ton of rebounds, dish it back out, they go huge. Like I think he sways the needle a little more than any of these guys. The thing is, like, if people needed to get mad, they needed to get mad when the Nets got Harden, and I think people did, and that's happened. But I don't think you can get mad again when they just add a couple of pieces that like, all right, is good, but not like superstar team good, I guess. So I don't know. I was just a little mad about that reaction.
No, I understand. I'm with you.
Yeah.
And on the Drummond thing, here's the thing. Of course, I know we're going to get into Lakers, so maybe this might be a good segue. But I think Drummond makes us better. I don't necessarily love him though, because he's not. I don't know. He can't play in today's NBA. I mean, he rebounds the ball, yes, but he can't shoot. He can't play defense outside of the paint. He might not even play in the last 5 minutes of the games because he can't guard the perimeter. I think he's still a great player. Do not get me wrong. I'm not saying that he's not a great player. I don't know if it really makes that much of a difference. He's not going to be playing in crunch time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he makes that much of a difference. I think he just makes more of a difference than Griffin or Aldridge.
So do I. Yeah, Griffin and Aldridge are washed up, and
and
Drummond plays defense, doesn't play any defense. Blake Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge have never played defense, and so I don't. Yeah, they're not. And people say they have DeAndre Jordan. He's not the same player he was. And if they play the Lakers in the finals, Anthony Davis at the 5 will absolutely torch DeAndre Jordan. I don't think they put DeAndre Jordan on Anthony Davis because they know that's too much of a mismatch.
But it's like, who you put that, like, what, rookie? I forget his name. They don't have another center.
You could put KD on him. I mean, he'd have a better chance than DeAndre Jordan. He can at least guard the perimeter.
Yeah, that's true. But then AD posts on KD. Like, I feel like that's the easy solution.
That's the thing about AD. I mean, now that he's got a 3-point shot, he's almost unguardable.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of like KD on him. But then who guards LeBron then, right? Because KD guards LeBron.
Yeah.
So it's like,
there you go. They're going to put Harden on LeBron. I mean, Harden's gotten a lot better defensively than recent years, but he's still not any good. So
yeah, I mean, because he puts so much effort on offense. So this offensive scheme with the Nets has been it's definitely a lot lower than it was in Houston. But like I
Am
feel
I the only one that also remembers that he chokes every year in the playoffs?
well because he gets
people
too
seem to
tired.
forget that.
He uses too much energy in the regular season to
Yes.
carry his team. So maybe this is different. Maybe he could pass the torch off to Kyrie. Maybe he's the second guy. I don't know.
Well, now he's out for a couple of weeks, and
Right.
KD's coming back. I don't think they. I mean, that's the other thing. Harden plays, Kyrie comes back. Now Kyrie leaves for whatever reason he wants to leave for, and then KD's still out. Now KD's coming back. Now Harden's out. Like they
Yeah.
still have to get accustomed to playing with each other too. I know that they played with each other a few times before all this started happening, but everyone's got to keep that in mind too. I mean, they still got to gel together and get chemistry. It'll probably be a lot easier for them. I know that KD and Harden played with each other before, but they were different players back then. So that'll be interesting to see as well.
Yeah. But like going to the Lakers, right? Like LeBron's been out for 2 weeks. AD's been out for it seems like the whole season, but it really hasn't been. And it's just like, don't they need to also get it clicking before the playoffs start happening?
Well, yes. But on the flip side of that is the only guys really that are out are LeBron and AD. LeBron was playing with all these guys that are playing right now before he got injured because he hasn't been injured that long. And AD and LeBron, they just, you know what I mean? They played so well together last year and they were playing so well together this year. And don't get me wrong, you're absolutely right. But on the flip side of that, though, is also LeBron. I mean, I don't know about you, but I mean, every year he's in the league, the team that he's on seems to have the best team chemistry and always seems to play together play their best together at the right time. Every year in the playoffs, they click. I mean, he's been in the finals every year since the last, 10, 11 years. You know what I mean? So I think it's a little bit different with them, a little less as much about chemistry, but still, yes, chemistry nonetheless. They still need to, get back involved, and when they come back and see how they play together through the injury. Drummond, like you said, is new, so they got to get them used to playing with him, and there's a couple guys, they're still getting used to playing with Schroeder and Montrezl Harrell, so you're absolutely right. I just think it's a little bit less of an issue for them than it is the Nets.
Yeah, I mean, because they've pretty much all played together except for Schroeder and Harold, like you just said. So it's like it's not as like challenging. It's not like AD hasn't played with LeBron yet, or like vice versa.
Right.
It's just like they're very like what am I trying to say? Like like under the table. They're not really saying when they'll be available, so it's like you can't really tell how severe these injuries are if they're just like resting for the playoffs. Because like if they're both there, like I'm not saying no one can beat them, but like you can't underestimate them, obviously. But what I'm really interested to see is like LeBron's injury is more recent. What if it's like actually like troubling? What if he like re-aggravates it, like try to come too quickly? But like what I really want to see is like AD playing with this like iteration of the Lakers, because like LeBron I think is gonna retire at some point, like maybe 2 years, maybe like he waits till Bronny's in the NBA. Like we don't like it's gonna be like 3 or 4. Like he's like what 36 now. He's almost gonna be 40. Like I know Brady's doing it at 43 and whatever he's like.
Lot different. Yep, lot different.
Absolutely different.
Running up and down the court nonstop.
But it's like okay, so like now they don't even think they're gonna play for 2 weeks. And I haven't checked the Raptors-Lakers score yet while we're recording, but it's just. They need to kind of come together. Like they're kind of close to that 7 seed. Like the Mavs have really picked up. And I forget who's the 6th.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I got a Lakers fan, so I may be a little biased here, but who do you trust in the playoff? I mean, listen, I really think the Lakers care about seeding, and quite frankly, as a Lakers fan, I don't care about seeding because I'm taking LeBron over any person in the West. It's just, I know that I know the Mavericks are coming up. I know the Nuggets are still good. I know that the Clippers are still good, but I'm taking LeBron over all of them. I don't think seeding matters to them at all. And if they play in the play-in game, you have one game. Who do you trust more than anyone in this league? I don't know about you, but I'm choosing LeBron.
Yeah, I mean that's a very valid point. And like so, like if they do fall to 7, right, they'll either the Warriors or the Pelicans most likely.
And the Warriors stink.
They look awful, so it's probably the Pelicans. The Pelicans.
That's the thing. Listen, Steph Curry's a great player. He's a fantastic player. He's one of the best point guards of all time. But when you have a star on your team, you're not supposed to be bad, and they are bad.
Yeah.
And I mean, Look at LeBron. A couple years ago, all those guys were injured in the finals, and he single-handedly carried them to 2 wins. When you have a star, you don't play this bad. So I think this is really shedding a light on Steph Curry. I still think he's a great player, and he's one of the best point guards of all time. I just, I think people need to slow down a little bit when they say the greatest point guard of all time. I've heard a few people say that.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think I've said that, but I would definitely take that back now. Just like what you just said, like he's the best player on this team, but they're just like a terrible team. And it's just like we get it. Klay Thompson's out for the whole year. Like Draymond could be out, so it's like if it's just you gotta carry it to some extent. And it's like you got Steve Curry, he's this incredible coach. You got this great like triangle offense with the 7 seconds or less. Like it should still work. And then also while I'm looking at the standings right now, they are like a game behind the Nuggets for the 4 seed, so it really can go anywhere. But I don't know. I just feel like if you do that playing game, like yes, you win, but then what? You got to play the Suns next. It complicates everything, and like the Suns are pretty unproven.
Yeah, but that's the thing. The 1 seed's the Jazz. If the Lakers play a playing game and win, you really don't think they'd go and whoop up on the Jazz? I think the Jazz would get maybe 1 game.
I don't know. I think that's a much closer. I think that's at least a 6-game series. I think the Jazz could really hand it to them because they got Gobert. They have the size for that. And maybe you play him off the court because Anthony Davis could just shoot all those threes. You put him at the 5, but Donovan Mitchell's been balled out. They didn't have Bogdanovich at the bubble last year. And they've won like 20 games in a row at home. And you're going to be playing in Utah, who, I don't know if Utah's going to have fans. They probably will have fans. Their fans are nuts. Their fans are absolutely crazy. So, I feel like that's going to factor in. I'd much rather play the Suns, honestly, if I was the Lakers. But, honestly, it's LeBron. You can't count him out. He's the one player you probably want on your team, even being injured and, being 36, 37. I forget his age. You can never count him out. I've done it so many times and have been absolutely owned by him. So, all right, just going to end it off with the Paul Pierce social media debacle, which was pretty hilarious in my opinion because he was just absolutely turned. And he just I just felt like he was on Instagram Live.
That's an understatement, my friend.
Yeah. But he was just I felt like he hit the wrong button. Maybe he was trying to video chat with someone, but then he was talking up on the comments of people I think he knew what he was doing and he just didn't care, or he was just and they were just I mean, it was some bad stuff because he said some the Shabbat dinner stuff for Judaism and the Sabbath, that's not cool at all. And so the ESPN fired him yesterday. So did you think this was a justified firing? What are your thoughts on this?
Oh yeah. So I didn't really see it. I mean, I saw the after effects on social media and stuff, and I thought he was wilding out. I definitely thought he was going to get fired even sooner than he did. So I thought it was hilarious, honestly, and good for him. I know that it wasn't a good look, but I don't know. I thought it was pretty funny, and I thought it was great. And I mean, he might have ruined his career, but in my opinion, we'll probably see him on TNT here in a couple of years. That seems to be where everyone goes. So it might actually work out better for him. Who knows? But I thought it was hilarious, and I definitely watched it over and over again after it happened.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe we probably shouldn't talk about COVID that much, but he was yeah, I got the shot. Everyone should get the shot. He's just I don't know. He was just happy about that. And what was weird too was they were listening to 2010s hip hop, Roscoe Dash and other shit, and I was oh damn, I remember.
Which is fantastic. Yes, I remember that.
So it's okay. And they were just having a good time. People are talking about COVID, but I don't know. I just feel people are exhausted at this point, and if you're just hanging out with people now and you're just happy, kudos to you. Especially if you.
Well, I think the big problem was, isn't he married?
Oh,
there's
yeah.
10 or 11 strippers there.
Yeah, that's probably an issue. But he'll have to handle it out with them. Also, who cares, right? ESPN shouldn't care about that. But I don't know. Hopefully,
didn't he call ESPN out? Didn't he call them? Is that why he got fired? Didn't he call them out for something?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't remember. But I thought it was just because of this video. Like, 'cause this video happened what, Sunday, I believe, and maybe before then. And then he got fired. He gets fired Monday, so maybe he calls him out on Twitter, or like I wasn't following up to date on the whole thing.
I think it was Sunday.
But like, I don't really care if he's on TNT. I actually did not. I never really liked him as an analyst. I thought he just was kind of lazy. He's kind of like Shaq in an opinion, where it's just like I don't think he really knows the league. He's just like making his pedigree as an NBA player.
You know what he does? He puts his personal differences into his opinions. Like, he doesn't think that LeBron James is the greatest, like one of the greatest players ever. He doesn't even have him in his top 5.
Yeah,
that is just unbelievably insane.
Yeah.
I mean, give me a freaking break. He is. I mean, I think he's the greatest, but if he's not the greatest, he's the second greatest. And for Paul Pierce to say he's not even top 5, it's just all personal biases and just the fact that he hates LeBron and he got whooped up by him.
Yeah, exactly. I completely agree. And it's just like, I don't think he takes Countdown seriously. I don't think he takes the jump seriously. So it's like, let's throw someone in that, like, they could just be another NBA player who actually, like, analyzes it and, like, talks about, like, defensive rotations or something like that. So, and, like, I don't know, Draymond Green, I feel like, is, like, the next TNT person to go on that show.
Definitely.
And I think he'd be incredible. Like, if he's not on TNT, he at least has to be signed by ESPN or, like, Fox Sports 1 or something. But all right, I think that ends Snowflake Sports Podcast. Kyle, you want to talk about Bench Talk Media at this point?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So, again, I know I've said it a bunch of times on here, but Bench Talk Media is just a sports platform on Instagram. If you guys would like to follow, and if you like sports and you like to debate sports, we do that on there. Also, Dan, we're gonna do, we're gonna tweak our opinions and our posts a little bit. So, we're bench talk, what it's like to sit on the bench and watch a game. So we're going to tweak it a little bit and turn our opinions and some of our posts into what it's, what a bench player would think of. You know what I mean? Because as a natural born bench warmer in high school, it was, I was fantastic at it. I got to see it from all angles. And so that's what I want to give the audience. So we're going to tweak it up a little bit and give them all the angles of, what it's like to be on the bench, like, and your team makes a big trade or something like that. So stay tuned for that, and hope you guys follow. And thanks for having me on, Dan. I always really appreciate getting my sports opinions out there. So thanks a lot for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Pleasure to have you on. That's at Bench Talk Kyle on Instagram. Go follow. He does a lot of videos and stuff. And I wasn't really on a bench because I was like, the track star nerd. But like, I appreciate the bench angle.
Yes.
From everything, because like you sit back, you could like see the game, and you're always trying to get in, but it's just like at some point you're just like, all right, this isn't really gonna happen, so let me just kind of be judgmental and just like. And you make fun
of you make fun of yourself.
Yeah.
You make fun of everyone out there on the field. Yeah, it's it's a whole different perspective.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so you can follow the Snowflake Sports Podcast on Twitter at Sports Snowflake. You can follow us on Instagram at Snowflake Sports Pod. You follow me on Twitter. My personal one is at Lucky Profession. This has been the Snowflake Sports Podcast. Thank you for listening, and keep them takes cold and snowy.